In the previous video, we already had to mention the predicate while talking about the subject. These are the two key elements of a Russian sentence, and they depend on each other a lot. Now we are set to proceed with the predicate. First, let's get rid of a crucial confusion with the terms. In English, the term predicate has several meanings. In the narrow sense, it often means just the main content verb. So, in the sentence, I know all your worries, only the verb know would be a predicate. However, in the broader sense, a predicate could be defined as everything except for the subject. In our example, this would widen the predicate to know all your worries. Unless specified otherwise, we'll always use the English term predicate in the narrow sense or as a simple predicate. In Russian, there's a separate term used exactly for this narrow sense of a predicate. It sounds сказуемое. This element of a sentence is highlighted with a double underline in Russian syntactic analysis. It couldn't be any easier to fit a subject into a Russian sentence. What about a predicate? Well, it's a whole different story. Let's take the most obvious part of speech for a predicate, a verb. What we have in a dictionary is the infinitive form of verbs. Unlike English, where an infinitive is preceded with a particle to, in Russian, an infinitive has one of the special suffixes at the end. The first typical infinitive suffix is t. Examples: видеть, знать, держать. The second is t. Examples: идти, нести, грести. These two infinitive suffixes are the most common. For a simple construction of a predicate in Russian, a verb is put in a proper grammatical form depending on person, tense, mood, and sometimes other categories. The same happens in English. It is called conjugation. One huge difference is that in the English language, conjugation is relatively simple, while in Russian, complicated. The first category, grammatical person. Let's take the verb to know and conjugate it by person in the present simple tense. Familiar, right? And now let's do the same in Russian. In this case, the verb conjugates by replacing the infinitive suffix t with an appropriate ending for every combination of person and number. The problem is that we have 6 different endings for 6 combinations here. Once the verb is in a proper form, it is ready to become a predicate in our simple Russian sentence. Examples: Я знаю. Ник знает. Студенты знают. Another verb. This time is держать, which stands for the English to hold. Different letters in the endings this time. Why is this? Different Russian verbs conjugate with different endings, and the rules are very complex. We'll go through it in detail another time. For now, let's switch to the next grammatical category, tense. These examples refer to the present tense in Russian, and the only other tenses in Russian are the past and the future. Yeah, no continuous, no perfect, just the trio of simples. What if we wanted a past sentence? In the past tense, grammatical person of the subject no longer affects verb conjugation in Russian. Instead, another grammatical category kicks in, gender. The form of a verb in the Russian past tense depends on whether a subject is masculine, feminine, neuter, or plural. To know is an irregular verb, but the past simple tense conjugation still couldn't be any easier in English. One past form, knew, does all the job. And now the same verb знать conjugated in the Russian past tense. 4 different verb forms. First, all of them get the suffix l that represents the past tense. And then each one gets an ending depending on gender of the subject. Once again, they replace the suffix t of the infinitive form. Note that in Russian, suffixes and endings are not the same. That's why we mark the two in different ways here. For comparison, the other verb of ours, держать, it conjugates just the same way. Now, some examples of the past tense predicates. Masculine. Ник держал. Feminine. Lara держала. Neuter. Оно держало. Plural. Студенты держали. So, we have checked how a predicate is affected by tense, person, and gender in some Russian sentences. There's one more category to mention, the grammatical mood. All our examples above have been done in the indicative mood, that is the default mood for most statements. There are two other moods in Russian, the imperative and the subjunctive. You are right to assume that each of the two would force a verb to conjugate differently. Once again, we won't be digging deep into the Russian moods right now. Just one example to have the idea. Hold. You could address somebody in such a way to hold your bag or something else for a moment. In Russian, this would sound «держи». This is one more form of the verb «держать», specific for the imperative mood. Let's conclude. For a predicate of a Russian sentence, we typically use a verb. The verb needs to be conjugated properly depending on mood, tense, person, and even gender sometimes. Verb conjugation is mostly done by replacing or adding specific suffixes and endings. Now you've got the basics of fitting a predicate into a Russian sentence, and we are good to proceed with the other sentence elements in the next videos.